debates or a meeting of business leaders from 22 countries, and I just talk about value of supply chain management. And I say all this just to inspire at least few people in this room that this profession is worth getting into. I'll also spend a little bit of time talking about my mentor, who's taught me a lot about supply chain, Dr. Wolfgang Pasch. He is based in Germany. There is nobody active today in supply chain management than more experience in it. The reason being he was on the team that invented supply chain management. So I asked him, when you did this project, there was already materials management, there was already logistics, there was already production and inventory planning. So what was the big thing that inspired you to create supply chain management? And his response was very simple. He says, everybody was working in their individual silos. So production guys wouldn't talk to purchasing guys who wouldn't talk to the inventory guys. And it was a big breakthrough to really get them talking to each other in the first place. So we are privileged to have him as a senior partner in our company. I want to acknowledge him. Now, role of supply chain management. I believe today, supply chain management may be one of the toughest jobs on the earth. Now, there is a TV program called Most Difficult Jobs on Earth or something. I believe supply chain management may be one of those. The reason is, three reasons really. First one is ambiguity. Nobody knows what supply chain is. People have their own definitions of supply chain. I have seen so many companies in the last 20 years or so of management consulting. And every company has its own supply chain, definition of supply chain. In fact, even within a company, everybody has his own definition of supply chain. The second thing is uncertainty. Basically, supply chain management is, because of the ambiguity, it's so difficult to really get the credit for a job well done. And it's so easy to get the blame for somebody else's faults. And third thing is complexity. With the globalization, supply chain has become so complex that you just can't do it in your head. In fact, you can't do it with even the tools, the IT tools, which were invented 10 years ago. And that is a huge problem. So let's talk about ambiguity a little bit. Here's a typical company. It's like supply chain is like an elephant and six blind men, as I say sometimes. So if you talk to procurement, they say, we are supply. Just add chain to it and it becomes supply chain. And then you talk to logistics and everybody thinks logistics is the supply chain. And then you go within operations and they say, no, 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 supply chain is really all about production planning or inventory management. And then you go to finance and they are really struggling to, if you talk to a typical CFO, he thinks either it is logistics or it is procurement. And he's sort of flipping between the two. Sales, well, for sales, supply chain is really the easy target. They are the people they blame when the customers don't get their orders. Then you talk to external associations, and there's quite a few of them in logistics, in procurement, in warehousing, and they're all trying to tag supply chain management to their name. Now, that is okay if they actually get into supply chain. But a lot of them are still doing just logistics or procurement or whatever else they were doing earlier. And that is a problem. Let's talk a little bit about complexity. I showed you a very complex chart about integration and optimization quite deliberately so that you know how complex supply chain optimization and integration is really. And there are multiple levels of it. And I'm sure you know all this because it's probably day-to-day job for many of you guys. But the fact is just this, that there are multiple levels in both of these things. When I was a third officer a long time ago, I was in charge of, no, second officer, I was in charge of navigating a ship. And my only job was to optimize the route from point A to point B. Sometimes we had 6 loading ports and 6 discharge ports, and I was optimizing the navigation.